Size matters, regardless of what she said.
Welcome to Music Pub Cartoons.
Blockchain, in the most usual form, is a distributed public database and ledger. As the name suggests, it is a chain of blocks, and each block has three elements: data, hash, and the hash of the previous block. It is the first element, data, that we will be talking about today. For example, Bitcoin data block stores recent transactions, and each transaction typically has only three basic elements: sender wallet, receiver wallet, and amount of Bitcoin transferred. While in reality this is not the whole story, Bitcoin transactions are quite small. In fact, the size of the whole Bitcoin blockchain, with all transactions ever, is currently around 250 megabytes. That is peanuts in 2019. On the other hand, a minimal registration transaction in a CWR file is around 2 kilobytes, and the average has already grown to over 5 kilobytes. Of course, we would not put CWR directly in the blockchain. There is a lot of redundant data in there, so the actual transactions would be smaller, but as the history would have to be preserved in gradual steps, there would be more of them per work. I'll go with 5 kilobytes per work on average. While I may be off, it cannot be more than an order of magnitude, and I think it can only go up. So, for 50 million works, roughly the current number of registered ones, the blockchain would be 250 gigabytes. This only includes musical works, aka compositions, and only minimal data about recordings. Without any details on licensing agreements. And absolutely no usage nor royalty data. Nor any of the other nice-to-haves many people mention in this context. And there will be new music. So, for the foreseeable future, the order of magnitude of a music rights blockchain can be estimated to several terabytes. And that is huge. This will not work. Not on current mobile devices, not unless the internet connection way beyond what is available today, in reality, not at all. One could argue that only the differences should be in the transactions, and that transactions can be agreement-based and not state-based, which would reduce the size significantly. While this is true, this would not reduce the size for more than an order of magnitude, and blockchain that has hundreds of gigabytes is still a huge one. And this approach is far more complex and CPU-hungry, as the state of each work would have to be recalculated and revalidated on each access. Data validation is a huge topic in music rights, and I will dedicate the whole next episode just to scratch the surface. This is closely related to the question of avoiding and resolving conflicts. Smart contracts are the obvious choice, but, once again, many complex questions must be answered in the implementation. A very interesting answer might be that we don't need all of the data in the blockchain. It only holds the metadata hashes, and metadata is somewhere else. Needless to say that this, once again, adds a lot of complexity. These and many other issues were raised in the first 6 episodes, out of 12. In the second half of the season, I will try to cover them all and resolve most of them. Some will definitely remain open, either because the social consensus does not exist, or the tech that can be considered safe and stable. But let me recap the first half of the season. We touched on bad expectations, comparing blockchain and music rights to Brexit. Also, that there are 3 parts to it: block, chaining, and cryptography. Also, alternatives have been mentioned, most notably, worldwide central ledger. Various identifiers were mentioned, but the most important fact is that the current ones are useless for fully distributed blockchain. Basically, any identifier short enough for people to handle requires a central authority. For a fully distributed system, they have to be replaced. Also, some of them, most notably ISWC replacement, has to be a hash of immutable work data, not a random or sequential identifier. And, as was explained in the last video, this is politically completely unlikely any day soon. There was an episode about referencing works in recording metadata. Both issues exist regardless whether blockchain is used or not. In the previous episode it was explained why, if a music blockchain project is financed by a publisher, This is the top priority. And then there was an episode with 2 questions: is the blockchain tech ready? And is the social situation ripe? It turned out that tech is not ready to deal with legacy, and that the situation is not ripe for a clear cut. But, things are changing fast on both fronts. The legacy approach has several years to be implemented, or a clear cut will be inevitable. I'll see you in the next Tuesday Tech video.
Thanks for watching Music Pub Cartoons, developing software that uses music metadata, generates, parses, validates, merges or delivers. Check out CWR Dev Toolset and Visual CWR Validator. We also recommend this video. Please subscribe and press on the bell.